Hello and welcome to another episode of the Young Tongues podcast. My name is Barbara Fountain and I am the founder and CEO of the Young Tongues, a global peer-to-peer support group for young tongue cancer patients. Now, if you're a regular listener, you can hear I do not sound like I usually do. And also we've had a little bit of a break, so thank you so much for bearing with us. I went on holiday and I came home and I've been ill ever since. As everyone who's had tongue cancer will feel with me, you pick up the smallest colds and it's just flatlines you for a week and you end up sounding like this. So we'll do our best to get through to today, but I didn't want to postpone today because I've been looking forward to this session so much. Jamie isn't with me here today, but instead I have a very, very spectacularly lovely guest coming on called Mus, who's been with us before. Mus, lovely, welcome back to the podcast.
Lovely to do that.
So good to see you, my lovely. And I basically, last time you were here, we were talking about your diagnosis and how amazing and supportive your employer was and the progress that you've been doing since finishing treatment and getting back to training and running and watching the space. And then life happened. So, Mus, would you like to get us up to date in terms of what's happened to you?
Yeah, so it was actually the following day after we recorded the podcast. I had my usual appointment, and I sort of noticed over a month before that my neck dissection site was sort of, at first it was just a bit red and a bit like, it's just a bit sore. We didn't think anything of it because I've been actually out in the sun and I've been this has been out and about doing that, so I just thought it was a bit of heat. This was in August, so I thought might have been rubbing. This is where the lymphedema was. Didn't think anything of it, but it wasn't getting any better. So at the next appointment, I literally had my checkup and then ran it by the doctor that was there. It wasn't my normal doctor, but at this point they'd been a year and a half in, so he was just giving it to like the senior people, which I was happy with.
It makes total sense, doesn't it? It happens to all of us that after a year and a bit, when they sort of see you being out of the danger zone, that you see lots of other people instead of your usual surgery team or medical team. And actually, I just want to input at this point, like anyone who's part of the Young Tongues group at that point was seeing many photos of your neck. And even we had a big laugh about it because you posted a photo that was really zoomed in and I was like, Mus, what is this? And we laughed because it looked a bit rude. And everyone was just like, oh, that's really strange, really different. So
a couple of people thought it might have been infected, but as I said, the surgeon saw it straight away and was like, it's not infected. I can tell it's that, and weren't really sure. So they were like, right, first we'll just have a ultrasound, and we'll take it from there and just put a bit of Vaseline on it, make sure it's not bleeding. So I had that over the did that a couple of weeks. They checked it. They said it looked fine from the ultrasound, so nothing to worry about. But it was still nothing happening. So then I came back for my next appointment. I saw my original surgeon, and so he was like, "Okay, I don't know what it is. It could be anything. I'm pretty sure that it's nothing to worry about, but I'm going to be safe and sorry." So he said, "What we'll do is we'll do a MRI, but I also going to take a biopsy." So I was like, okay, fine. So this was now, we're in October time now. So then I had
So can I just ask, sorry, just for anyone listening. So it was basically red and raw, but there was no lumps. There was no like anything suspicious that we usually look out for.
It was basically the scar where I had the scar. It's just coming away.
Yeah, the scar was sort of.
And so it was eating a little bit, the serious to it, but a couple of times that if I had the hot and fit, it blazed a bit, but it was just like it was coming away, and everyone was a bit missed by it. So I then went back and I think now this was end of October by the time that, and the surgeon explained to me, he said, look, what they'll do is have the MRI first and then do the biopsy, because once you have the biopsy, that might soothe the sound of this is the swell. And what they ended up doing was having the MRI in the morning, and I had the biopsy that same day, so that I didn't have to let them come back. Now, this biopsy wasn't like the one on my thumb. That was like, there's less of that and that on the first bit. That was painful. They did inject it and make it numb, but then after that it was fine. Now, my wife was in the room while they were doing this, so she was just like, I don't think she expected them. They literally just put in the chair, and then they just started, and she was like, but because of where she was sitting, she was just like, and she couldn't get out of the room, so she just had to turn her chair and look at the room.
Oh God, I couldn't watch that either. I'd be like, oh no. Okay.
And so, and then at this point it's just to use the biopsy, but it took about 20 minutes. And when they were doing it, obviously they took a massive thumb out. Now, I didn't see the SAR until about 4 weeks after, because obviously where I am, I can't see it, and every time I look in the mirror, it's covered up. But when they, but the hair took a picture of it, and it's literally like they just took a thumb out the neck, and we've been patting it, and there, and then it's just slowly got better. But yeah, when she was in the room, she was just like that, and then my surgeon came into the room just to check him, because he didn't do it, it was one of the other people. But then he came into the room, he saw hair in there and was just like, what are you doing in there? And he turned around to her and said, two things you don't want to see in person is surgery and sex.
Yeah, totally agree.
So it's just like, I don't know why he's done that, but she was alright afterwards.
Bless her.
But yeah, at this point then, so after I've had the biopsy, that's been sort of everything but a bit worse. So like, because of all the strain and stuff, I was hurting a bit more, my swallowing went downhill, and I was just not struggling to eat, but I had to sort of rein everything back in, and then they had a 2-week wait for the results. Now, in the period of me having the biopsy and getting the results, my original surgeon went on a sabbatical. So the last thing he actually did on his last working day was see me during the biopsy, but he actually left a couple of days later. So he led me to their top consultant, basically.
Okay.
And then so they had them went back to the results and went into them, and he was like, yeah, but unfortunately it is cancer, the results are there. So, and the first thing he actually said was like, surgery, we can't do it, this is where it is, it's like basically in the neck and at the base of the thumb. If they went in, they've been making more of the mess and trying to fix it. So they then said they would refer me back to Royal Surrey Hospital, where I had my radiotherapy and my chemotherapy, and then they'll look at the options, which would probably be immunotherapy. Now, one of the things she said to me, this was this sort of made my heart sing, was that if this was 5 years ago, there was no alternative for head and neck cancer patients. It was like, I had the surgery and had the chemotherapy first time round. Nothing they can do. They said the last 5 years there has been so much done in alternatives afterwards that immunotherapy is now an option, and there are trials for other things going on as well. So under the failures of the study, you're in great hands, and then the see that they say. So I had so then
Wow.
yeah.
So sorry, I'm just trying to compute all that information. So you come back for the results, not with your usual person, which I've been thinking a lot about trust recently, and how important I mean, for me, I see it as well. Like your primary, you find your
Yeah.
person, don't you?
Yeah.
So then to have, so you're already computing with that. You got someone new, but you know that they're like the top guy, and it's all good.
Yeah.
Then hearing the words inoperable, which is something none of us want to hear, and I guess also a whole new area, because even though it's close to the tongue and it originated from tongue cancer, you're now looking at the neck. Did you say vocal box as well near that?
That's what they thought, but I actually come back from the hospital today and they had my first set of SAM results, and actually the voice box, it wasn't actually in the voice box. From
Oh, good.
from the first SAM that they saw to then I had my PET SAM, it's actually not there. So it's literally front of the neck and base of the tongue. So
Base of
it's
the tongue.
literally like
Yeah.
there.
And are they? I assume it's still squamous cell carcinoma. It's the same
Yeah.
type of cancer. And so you're now being referred to a different hospital, because I assume your hospital trust doesn't support immunotherapy, or hasn't got the infrastructure to do so. But it's the same place where you had your radiation previously. So that's good. So there's familiarity there. So yeah, wow, okay.
Yeah, so that was a couple of weeks of like, right, but I mean, like, like the said, they did not mess around. They literally, I had the results on a Monday, and then I had the appointment with, like, received the appointment for the following week, basically.
Wow,
Like, they
okay.
did not mess around. I was in there within 2 weeks, basically. And they've had the EMT meeting, and that's it. Then I went in and saw the new, my new oncologist, because my oncologist that was doing it last time was just specialised, but he was the head, but he was specialised in the radiotherapy and chemotherapy.
Yeah.
I'm now under the head of Dr. Husseini, who's in it specialises with the immunotherapy.
Immunotherapy. And that's a really good point that you made, that 5 years ago, they couldn't have done anything for you.
Yeah.
It's come along so much and has become accessible for people on the NHS. So that's incredible. And I think it's just, I mean, to anyone listening, we all know the importance of investment into research and making these type of therapies accessible. But yeah, that's really stark.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, that's what hit home to me. And then he said, like, oh, this is 5 years ago, nothing you can do. I'm like, oh. But then at the same time, you're thankful that something can be done. So me being me, I'm not right, okay, we know they can't do surgery, let's see what the doctor has to say. So the 2 weeks in between now, I'm like, I am worrying because I'm like, what are they going to say, what's going to happen? I didn't know much beyond like the cinema was there, and at that time, first books, so you don't really know what's going on. I get the letter from them, and it just had jargon in it. I didn't really understand. I had to literally Google some of the words, and even then, I'm like, actually, I don't want to do that because if I Google that and get it wrong, there's so many other options. That it could be so much. I wait till I see the doctor, and so we had the appointment. I went with my mum and Claire this time, I think my mum wanted to be there as well, so it was nice to have two. So they basically said to me, right, okay, we've looked at everything. Definitely have immunotherapy. We think we're a great candidate to have that. But there's also a clinical trial for immunotherapy, and we're gonna put you on that as well, basically. So,
Okay.
all being well, both the original plan was immunotherapy, but if we can get you on this clinical trial,
Clinical trial as well.
yeah.
So it's immunotherapy. And what was the clinical trial? Was a chemo drug?
No, it's just a I'm not sure. It's not a hemo. It's just a blood. It's a manzatab. It's not a chemotherapy or immunotherapy. It's just like it's an injection basically that they
An
put in us.
injection.
Yeah, that
Okay.
they put in the stomach.
Like, is it like a targeted treatment type
Yeah,
thing, or?
basically, it was a drug used for lung cancer patients to help them, and then they
Okay.
realised it had a response rate with head and neck, and that's where this trial comes to. So
Oh,
I
cool.
think it was from what they told me, it was a drug that used to help lung cancer patients, and it's evolved from that basically to
Amazing.
um to this. So they said right, they're gonna put it on it, but obviously they need to make sure that I was eligible for it. So we then had a 4 week wait
Mm.
between that appointment, which was would have been um, early to middle of November, and they said the plan is if we go ahead, we'll go ahead before Christmas. They wanted to start me before Christmas, with it being like the week before, so that Christmas and the holidays been a bit in the way.
Yeah.
So that was an unrate because we kept flying emails back saying what's happening because they're basically waiting on the pathology results from the biopsy. They had all the other results, but it was a pathology that was taking the longest.
Right.
Um, so that was a bit of there, but basically in the end, I think they just signed it off without having the results, which they can do. They were just
Yeah.
like, look, we're just gonna get it filmed, get it started. Um,
Well, and we know that there are bottlenecks in pathology, cancer pathology at
yeah,
the moment. That's something that, unfortunately, we're hearing from many of our people many from our UK NHS individuals who are seeing delays in getting their results in order to move forward with treatment. It's just a unfortunate reality we find ourselves in at the moment. So,
yeah.
what did you start first, injection or immunotherapy?
So basically, how it works was, So we then basically, it was funny because obviously I had to speak to my work who have been fantastic, but they're coming up to the week before Christmas, and I said to them, look, we know it's going to start there, I just don't know the date. Then they gave me a date, which was like, ended up being, I think it was going to be like the 20th of December or 19th of December, but then the week before they put it through is so like the 16th of December. So I was like, had to ring my boss up, pricing me up, like, they want me to start tomorrow.
Right.
And this is obviously, and then the plan was I was going to take a month off because they said it's not going to be as brilliant as the chemo and radiotherapy is designed to work. But what I wanted was a month off just to make sure everything was alright for a month. And while I'm having that first round of treatment, I'm sure I don't need to worry about work or anything like that.
Yeah,
And
just to gauge and
yeah,
see how you can cope with this.
because as
Okay.
well, like 2 of the weeks I was already on holiday anyway, but it was Christmas.
Yeah.
So, so what happened was the first bit was it's immunotherapy and the trial drug. So immunotherapy, immunotherapy um, was Pembro. I can't remember the whole name, but we've just been calling it Pembro.
Yeah.
And the trial drug, it's Andy from Andy tab. So we've had both. So the first one, because I'm actually the first person at the hospital to have this. I'm the
Mm.
first person at this hospital on the trial. So the first time I was there the whole day because they make the drug on site, but because they had to liaise with America and make everything there, I was there from 9 o'clock. They didn't actually start treatment until about 1.
Okay,
This is
but it's
the
teething.
next pain.
Yeah, teething issues, isn't it? They're trying to figure it out themselves. First time done it. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, it's fair
So
enough. You know.
yeah, I was like, I had the day off. I knew I was off. I was like,
Yeah.
whatever. So they had some pre-meds, then the immunotherapy, then some more meds, and had to wait an hour. No, 2 hours. This first time they had to wait 2 hours because it's the first time. Now at this point, I'm about an hour after having the immunotherapy, and I had Pear sitting next to me, and all of a sudden I started shivering, and then I started like shaking like properly. I was just like, hair was just like under the so I went, no, don't, and I don't know why I said it. I think I panicked,
Yeah.
and then I was like, dead, no.
Okay.
And then so the doctor came and was like, and I was like, it was weird because I was shivering and shaking, but I wasn't like, I didn't feel like the hose. It was just there. So they
You
gave
had
me some band-aid.
shakes, so you basically were shaking
Yeah,
but not feeling
but
cold.
yeah, but it started off with my teeth tattering, and then from there it was just like, well, so I was like, okay, they're a bit nurse. So they were amazing. They looked at their blanket, done everything, and then they gave me the antihistamines and the injection, and then within that 15 minutes it had calmed down,
Okay.
and then I was alright after that. There's a bit of the stuff. I was like, oh. But
Sorry, you're just telling us this, and I'm like, Jesus Christ! I'd be like, what the fuck's going on? But
yeah,
okay, well, good you. I mean, staying calm.
yeah. So I was alright, and then after that it calmed down, and so but the nurses and the doctor came in to check me over, and they said actually it's quite a usual side effect from the immunotherapy. So
Yeah,
don't worry about it. We see this a lot,
before.
and they actually said to me having a reaction like that early actually is really good because it means it's responding to your body. So it's actually a good
Brilliant.
sign. So I'm like, all
Oh,
right,
that's great.
take the positive out of that. I'm like, great. Um, and so they then had so they then were like we just wait a bit, but they were happy to go ahead and have the Andy, the child lab, and then that's basically like an injection like that in the stomach, basically just by my belly button.
Mm.
So they had that. That was alright, and then they were like, and then we wait an hour just to see how the sperm. Then about 10 minutes before that hour was up, my face like flushed. So I was like,
Mm.
they were like, that wasn't like that earlier. With it, the doctor just to check it. I mean, I'm feeling a bit flushed anyway. I think, and then from having the chills and stuff like that, I think it was just an overall reaction.
Yeah. But
So
you didn't feel. Do you feel hot like on your skin, or
no,
was it
not
just
hot.
flush?
That's like if you spent the day at the beach or outside,
Yeah.
and then you come back home and you get that glow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it felt like, and that's what. So they were like, "Oh, did you have the temperature?" I was like, "No, I don't feel warm." And then that's when they're like, "Okay, no, that's a side effect from the Andy, so fine." And so yeah, so they said originally I should only be there for 4 hours. They ended up being there for 9. Yeah.
Wow. Gosh, we're a pair at the moment, aren't we?
Both of us there.
Both coughing away.
um,
Oh,
yeah, so that was the first one, and then the basically what happened was for the following 2 weeks after, I was having the anti. So the first cycle, the first two
mhm.
rounds is so a round of the immunotherapy and a half round of the anti, and then I was having Andy for the second week and the third week. So this was over Christmas. So obviously Christmas is busy. Second time round, it was alright. It was fine. And then we had to wait for the blood. That was it. So I was there 5-6 hours with them. But I think because it was Christmas and it was new, they're still finding their feet. And then, so then on the next one, but in between that, I came home, and this was New Year's Eve. So this was me and my mum and Claire, and we were just having a quiet night in. I got in, they started playing blood games, and then I started shivering again on New Year's Eve. And I was like, but I said to Claire this time, this is not like it was before. I actually just feel cold. So I was like, I just did a jacket or something like that, and I felt better. But then they took my temperature, and my temperature was saying it was 38. So I'm like, I was like, are you sure? Because this is not right. And I'm like, 7 o'clock, this is like 8 o'clock now on New Year's Eve. I'm like, so they ran the hotline, and then they said, okay, but check it again in a few hours, and if it's so bad, then they say to A&E. I'm like, I don't know, A&E on New Year's Eve. No.
In London as well.
They checked it again, and it hadn't changed, but I was adamant that the thermometer at home was broken. Okay. And that's what I said to her. I was like, no, it's fine. But then basically, then they heard back. I said, look, I feel okay, but this is what it's saying. I said, look, at this point it was like 11:30 on New Year's Eve. I said, look, I don't want to go to A&E tonight. And I just go to bed. If the temperature still says 38 in the morning, I'll go. They said, alright, fine. So they both up. Temperature still said 38 point something. So that's fine. They then got to the hospital, and then the temperature when I had it at the hospital was 36.6. So my temperature was fine, but they still wanted to check me over. So New Year's Day at A&E was there for 7 hours. Nothing was wrong, but I think they obviously had to check everything over.
Yeah.
And then I had, and then the next day they had to go back to the other hospital that I had my treatment, and they was just in me the months over. So this was like New Year's Day and the day after New Year's Day. So it's a bit like
it's tiring, isn't it? It's so fucking tiring, and these things always happen on.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's alright. But
yeah,
but
in the grand scheme,
be safe than sorry.
Absolutely not. I totally agree. But isn't it? I don't know what it is, but these things always happen on bloody bank holidays and Christmas Eves and New Year's Eves, and you're like, oh really? Can you just be on a random Wednesday night when no one needs A&E and I could just stroll in and home again? But hey, yeah.
I think it's thousand Barbara.
Oh, okay. Didn't hear any of that, did you? Hold on, I'll just wait. Anyhow, listeners, depending on how I've edited this together, we've just had a little freeze, but we're back on now again. So, so anyhow, one question I wanted to ask you, just for those that don't know, which includes me. So I don't actually know that much about immunotherapy. Like, how is it administered? Is it like chemo where you have a port?
Yeah.
Or?
So basically, it's just in the venous bit, and then they have it. Yeah. There and then
in your hand.
And then it's just like that because and that's just like 15 minutes, like that bit. I think the first one they've done is like half an hour. I think they like, depending on where you are on the site and what you do, it's like they might administer it for half an hour, 15 minutes. It just depends. But yeah, it's just like when you have chemo. basically.
Same. Oh, that's interesting. I never really knew because I've never been able to chat with someone. So how many rounds of this, the both drugs have you had until now? So now it's March.
Yeah.
So
So
just
I've
anyone
had
listening.
so the first two were basically so the first cycle or the first round is three cycles. So I've had the first cycle and the first round in the first cycle in the second round, and I'm on my second cycle tomorrow in the second round. So
Second
yeah,
round.
so but their first one, as I said, was you had the Anzi for 3 weeks, and then after that first one, it's just you have the Anzi and the immunotherapy every 3 weeks. Um,
Okay.
so basically, after I had all that, this is when I started to get the skin reaction. Like listen, not looking too bad now, but when I first had it, it was basically it dried up and then looked like I was about 15 with acne. Um,
Yeah.
so that all, and that was sort of the reaction that I think I had, and so they put me on some antibiotics, um, and they gave me some cellophane and some moisturiser, and just basically said to moisturise and do that the whole time. So it got really bad, and then when I went on the antibiotics, it calmed down, and so then got to the end of my last, the end of the first cycle of treatment, and the third round, and then the, the doctor said, right, obviously we can't have you on antibiotics the whole time. We can't have you on antibiotics the whole time, so come off them, and then we'll see what happens. I came off them, my skin got really bad, and then my scalp got really bad. So
And I've seen photos of this, and I cringed because I was like, oh, that looks so painful.
yeah,
So the back of your scalp and your skin, well, your skin it was acne
yeah.
like, and then the scalp back of your scalp looked quite like it was quite pussy
Yeah,
and
plus a bit like psoriasis, basically, is what I can
yeah.
only describe it as, but like on steroids. So we did that, and so that photo that I saw, we literally went to the hospital, and they were like, right, because I was supposed to be having immunotherapy that week, but they said no, we have to postpone it. They have to let the dividends versus hopefully it'll calm down, and uh, they'll just have to monitor it. So they said, come back next week and we'll see what happens. Come back and everything had calmed down. They'd only been on it for a week, but it was debating whether should we give you the trials and the immunotherapy, or should we how they didn't play it, basically. So they had a very frank conversation with the doctor. Initially, it was like, no, right, I think they're right, put you back on it. It seems to have calmed down a bit. And then I can see him thinking, right, he's looking at me and he's like, but, but maybe, no, maybe we just give you the immunotherapy this time. Play the break from and the Anzi, and then we can reassess it next time, because then we'll have the full lot of um, the hard antibiotics, and then they'll go back on the antibiotics that you were on previously. So I was like, okay.
Right, but it just shows that they are pushing your body to its absolute limits.
Yeah,
And so these are really difficult decisions to make because obviously I can only imagine you're probably thinking, but what does this mean for the cancer?
yeah.
You know, versus having a allergic reaction infection on your scalp.
And that,
It's like,
and then that he's also like, you know, if we push it, you know, it handles hypertoxicity in the sim. I was like, that doesn't sound nice.
No,
So
no.
it is a balance that I'm always like, no, give me the drugs, I just want to get better. But then at the same time, you have to weigh it up with what was happening. So in the end, for the last treatment, we went with just having the immunotherapy, no trials drugs. In that way, I've had a 6 week break from it. Let the antibiotics do their work, go back on the other ones, make sure that's calmed down, and then do it. So that's when I had my appointment this morning, and he took one look at me in the sub and went, no, they're fine. The did today tomorrow, and they had their trials on a lesser dose, but he said maybe having the higher dose is what proves it. So there's a half the treatment and the immunotherapy tomorrow, and hoping, he said, look, it might split it up again, you might see it a bit worse. If it does, then we'll have to look at maybe stopping the trials up. But I'm not going to give it up without a fight. He said, like, you know, the session each time is not. I'm not going to tell you if this happens. I'm definitely taking it off. We have to take it week by week every time I see you. There's no hard and fast rule. Now there's some, because this is a trial and it's with a blood company in America. There are certain protocols that they have to do. So I know one of the things is that I have to have the AMSI within a certain window, otherwise they can't give it back to me. So normally I should have been having the therapy next week, but they put it forward to fit me within the window so that I can have it.
Of the trial, of course.
So I was like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
And so obviously I went, saw him, everything was alright, and
So you'll go for tomorrow?
So go for tomorrow, and this is pretty positive, so I'm happy, you know. And after having, like, you know, after being, I explained the last time, after doing 6 weeks in hospital, and then doing the chemotherapy and radiotherapy, I feel that Andy that things like that is actually the plan, but I'm not surprised, and I'm just like, I know it's not the plan, but I still didn't know that it doesn't. So I'm like, I like things to be in order, and then they're not. I'm like, oh, because that ends up happening now. There's news because the immunotherapy got moved by a week. We basically set out every 3 weeks when they had the immunotherapy. Now that's a bit out. Now that's from what they originally thought. But now because they've moved it forward, they're back to the same original plan. So I'm now on the original schedule than I was. So I'm on what they thought they were going to be. After having 3 weeks of thinking they're going to be a bit out. So I'm like,
It's just a bit, but it puts you out, doesn't it? Because you've got an idea in your head, and then you have to readjust for it.
And that's it. And it's not only that, because as I say, I'm back at work, so I obviously think about that. But Claire, she's also working. You know, we're really fortunate that her company are super supportive, so she's able to take me to my appointments. And you know, I'm so glad that, you know, my boss and her boss there so accommodating, because things are like they happen at shouldn't notice. Might have to like, I run my boss and I had to say to them, look, you know, then I emailed the doctor about myself. They're like, no, I want you need to come in now. I was supposed to be going in on the Tuesday, and they went, no, we want you in now. So I rang them up and said, look, no, if you need to go to the hospital, don't even ring me. Like, go and then ring me. Like, that's what it's like. So to have that, and you know, I'm spending 2 days at the office every 3 weeks, which is quite a bit. but I'm also like lucky in that when, on my pre-treatment days when I had my check-up, they had a really nice waiting area. So today, I just took my work laptop with me, and I work from the hospital, and so all I'm doing is I'll put my laptop away and then see the doctor, and I have my and then they do my observation. So I think that makes my boss feel better because he knows that's now one less day that I'm not. I'll be that's one more day I'll be around rather than have to see my emails to someone else. And because if I wasn't able to work, I'd tell him. But the first time we were there, he was like, "No, I don't want you. If you aren't, don't work." But I was there, she's feeding my son just watching music for 3 hours. So I said to him, I can either do that or I can actually take my laptop with me and just look after my emails and work. And he's like, look, up to you, if you want to do it, do it. But he's no way pressured me that this should be done.
No, I just think it's reflective, like very much like listening to you. I just think it's really reflective in the sense that you're in a different phase than where you were when we last spoke, and it's a different scenario than what you faced last time round, because we're now actually talking not of I know a bit about this before we've come on, but it's no longer a curative scenario, it's a chronic scenario. And I think chronic, a lot of people forget that cancer is a chronic, or for many people can become a chronic condition. So whereas before maybe the mental shift was, I'm going to get through this and better and on, you're having to adapt and go, okay, this is where I am, and how do I still live the life I want to live, a meaningful life and a working life? Because Mus, you are in a situation where you are someone who actually enjoys their work. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing as much of it. And with all your other types of work as well, I believe that if you weren't well enough or you didn't enjoy it enough, you could easily step away from those responsibilities. But maybe it's those responsibilities that give you that little bit of normalcy to get through this state.
That's it, because I have business lesson with her. She's been like, look, if you've done the work, you don't have to. They can sort it out. But I think if I stop working and stop doing being a hamster or like cut back from that, I should be so bored. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, look, there's some days where I am like, my work now, the busy period, with the end of the tax year coming up. There are some days I'm like, really? Why am I putting myself through this? But that literally lasts like 30 seconds. I'm like, you know what? There were things in the way. Let's just crack on. But the first time round, I wouldn't say it was all sort of tied up in a nice bow in terms of like, I went off work, I had surgery, I had the laser therapy, I recovered from that, and then it was just like that's done now. All they can do is monitor it. There's this time round, it's a long term. I'm looking long term. I'm like, they're looking long term. I'm not looking short term. This is in my head. When I have immunotherapy, it's gonna work, and that's it. They just let on. So for me, if I lift up work and lift up my hands and stuff, it's not. I feel like I'm. That's the first rise in defeat, in my opinion. So as long as I'm healthy, I can talk and I can write emails and chat to people, there's no point in stopping that. I'm taking it easier than I was. Like, I am they are making some decisions literally January and February. They did nothing apart from my birthday. Um,
Which we do need to talk
there's
about.
come to that.
But yeah.
Um, so there, but I think as the weather it's like then I have to, I sort of, as well, when I've had certain things, how fortunate I've been in the timing of the year things have happened. Like
Mm,
first time round, I got diagnosed in February, had the surgery in March. I come out of hospital in April, so as I'm coming out of hospital, summer's happening, things are getting lighter, so I, then I was going out for work, so I was having the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy. The weather was nice. I was able to be outside and do things, and and it was like nice to enjoy the summer, feeling better. And then this time round, I got diagnosed in the November time, but the first round is in January, where it is a bit more quieter. I'm not missing out on a lot of things, so to be able to sit in until in January, February time is a lot easier than if I got diagnosed in April, May, and I had to sit in and isolate, and everyone else is out having fun. So for
yeah.
me, sort of now being in a rhythm and a passion in terms of treatment, what I can do, what I can't do. But now in March, sorting out the April, May, there's no plans that we're going away in the summer, and there's actually nice bits that we're doing over the course of the year that we just booked and there's in the do because I can't sit there and worry about what might happen because there might be, if there's a delay, we discussed this actually, like if there is a delay in treatment, they're not too worried because if I have planned stuff, they can work around it. They said that because there might be a week break, a 2 week break, the cycle dates will change, but if you've got stuff booked in, they can work around that. So
Yeah.
it's nice to know there's flexibility around.
Yeah, with around this treatment as well. And to be fair, at the moment, in terms of the way you look, you wouldn't know. You would just thought you've come back from a skiing holiday in the Alps somewhere, but have a little bit of pink cheeks, and that's it. So you can camouflage in quite well. Um, One thing I wanted to ask you, Mus, was in terms. I don't know if this is an easy or difficult question for you to answer because I really admire the way you're looking forward and you're planning and you're not worrying about what's around the corner because none of us know. But how do you feel as our community, how should I say this? As our community grows and we're having more and more people with recurrences and finding themselves in a situation with a chronic cancer, how do you feel about it? Like, how do you make peace with it, I guess?
I mean, I guess like what I said to myself and I chatted with her about at the start was I think we just have to take it round by round. After every round, we have a SAM. We get the SAM results, and we find out that what happens. I can't sort of look beyond. The only thing I'm going to look beyond that is to do some positive things. So we'll put stuff out in advance, something to look forward to, and and that's it. Because if I worry about the like the bad side of it, for me, I'm just end up running about things that I can't control. All I can
Mm,
control is eating well, making sure I sleep well, making sure I'm doing the best I can for my my body, and making sure everyone around me is okay, um, and doing that. So uh, then I had the last treatment we were supposed to have. We were then to have the SAM and the treatment on the same day. We didn't end up having that. We ended up having the immunotherapy on the Tuesday, and then having the SAM. No. They had the SAM in the morning, and then had the immunotherapy. I think I can't even remember now.
It's all right. It all merges after a while. There's so
Yeah.
many doctor
No,
appointments.
that was it. They originally had the SAM and then the immunotherapy. Then that moved, so I just ended up having the SAM and then home, and then I had the immunotherapy the following week. And so that's been everything mixed. And then last week, there's results from the first SAM. That, they're really happy that it's actually reduced by nearly 50%. It's gone from 6 centimetres to 2.8
Wow.
on the baseline, basically. So I actually saw the SAMs for the first time today. And the originally you could actually see they've had the biopsy where the cancer was, and it's literally done up. You can see a clear line between the sim now and where the cancer is, and it's all done up, and they can see more of the native tongue now than they had before. So when we spoke to him today, he said that in terms of results, this is the best thing they could offer. It's reduced by a lot. Now the next thing is what to expect. Now, obviously, doctors they'll never give you, they can't promise anything, but he said they would expect the next one to hopefully reduce some more, and then maybe reduce a little more after that, and then we'll probably see a plateau. But as long as it's reduced and then not, and then saying
Stays.
that's what they can hope for. And he said, look, if we see that pattern over the next few results, then there's no reason why we can't be doing this. And then and that's what years means. No one knows, but I know there's people that have had not necessarily in this area, but people who've had like other immunotherapy and been done 7-8 years.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I can't.
Who knows? And it's really important to reflect again, something we mentioned earlier, that 5 years ago there wouldn't have been this option available.
Exactly.
So actually, the who knows is a really valid question, because nobody does, because we're probably one of the first ones that are passing through this. So no, immense. And Mus, I just need to say thank you so much for, you're a really active member of the group, and it has been, for me personally, quite a difficult time over the last few months with, but it's natural as well, because I know our group has grown. So we're knocking on the door of 800, which is like a bigger community. And I'm also very much aware that there'll be many people, there's a silent majority that go through treatment and get better, and they go on and live their life, and that's fantastic.
I thought I was going to be one of them. I really did. I was so, then me being positive, I was like, it's done now, it's fine, I'm going to be alright. But at the same time, if that net hadn't opened up a bit, and don't know what should have happened. Might have been, I think later down the line there'd probably have some issues that they were investigated, but the fact that was happening without having any other symptoms, for me, was a bit of a blessing, which I know is weird to say, but
No, absolutely not. Totally get it, because it means it got caught early again, or earlier. And I just remember the post of you, and then literally every comment was like, I would go and see your team, I would go and see your doctor. But the point I was making is that we are seeing more people with recurrences, which is really tough for the individuals. But what I am so grateful for is to have people with lived experiences like yourself that take the time to leave a comment and say, hey, I'm in the same boat, there are options now, and to really connect with each other, because that is something, I'm an organizer. That is something I can't do. I've not lived it. I'm just here watching you, and I'm just like super, super grateful
And
that you take that time out of your
and the
life,
thing
your
is,
precious
even
time.
though I'm going through the inheritance, I see other people on the group that going through a third or fourth inheritance. So then I'm still lucky. This is my second one. This number two. This time, you know, other people going through that. This is like as my doctor said to me then today. Is like there it is. Then they appreciate it was localized. There's nothing anywhere else, so they can see
Mm.
it as that bit, and I think
Keep it
keep
contained.
it contained, and that was obviously what happened before. I mean, my surgeon always said to me, first time, man, the cancer was very aggressive. They, they got seen margins, gave me radiotherapy, chemotherapy, but if there's micro cells of cancer rushing around, there's, there is nothing they can do. It will come back. But
Mm.
what they have done is made sure that that I've got a quality of life from that first one. That I know many people do struggle with the after effects of surgery, with the speech, with this I have been through, and I have I've been quite lucky in terms of most, most people know what I've been through. Um, so everyone's been super positive, but then I hear stories of when people have negative comments and that, I'm like, that's me up because
Mm.
I'm waiting for someone to give me an negative comment, so I'm like, I'll give them the peace of my mind. But also at the same time, I have to step back and be like, they might say something, but they probably have no idea about sometimes and what it is. And so
Mm.
tunnel vision within our community that I'd be like, why don't you know this? No, but then before I had this, I had no idea about sun cancer,
Yeah.
and
No.
everyone I know, they tell me like, no, they had no idea, and how much more informative they have been about it because of what's happening to me. So
Mm. I totally must, and I get it as well. I went to Switzerland just recently, and I was spending time with cousins and stuff, and a lot of them actually don't speak English, but I sometimes put little clips of the podcast and stuff on my WhatsApp and things, and I can see them watching it, and they said to me, like, well, first we never knew of tongue cancer, and now you hear they do seem to hear more about it, but that's probably because they're primed to like pick it up and go, oh, that's what Barbara had. But they said on top of that is like they just never felt, they sort of thought, oh, okay, she has tongue cancer, you remove the lump, and yeah, she speaks all right, she eats, she swallows, because they only see me, right? And then they're like, oh, but then you've got these people coming your podcast and you can really see like struggling with speaking or visual changes and all of that. And I was like, well, that's the important thing, is that people understand that. That's why early diagnosis is really important, although it's not the only factor, unfortunately, but also that there has to be ongoing support for people who have been through the treatment, and then the ongoing surveillance and awareness of what to pick up on for not just recurrence, but also other chronic diseases that can result out of treatment. So, so I myself was like, surprised that they were picking up on that, even though they had no idea what we're talking about, it just from like two talking heads, speaking a different language. So that's
no,
great.
that is
Yeah.
it. And I always say to people, my mates, and anyone really ask me anything, like, nothing's out of bounds. I'll tell you. I'm not, doesn't bother me like what question you asked. I think especially with this type of cancer because it's so disruptive. It affects your speech, affecting the way you look at it, and I know that the community do suffer with that. But at the same time, I think we do have to count our blessings that they are here, and they're able to do it. Because I think, like, if we had this sort of disease 100 years ago, how debilitating your life might be, or they probably did nothing they can do. So they have to count our blessings that they live in the times that they do. There is so much out there, but I don't think there's so much more that can be done.
That has to come.
And I don't think it's a surprise that we're seeing more of these type of cancers than there's some people struggle to see an NHS dentist and how the private dental industry is so expensive. There's definitely a link there, and that's definitely something that needs to be looked at as a matter of urgency. And putting my politics hat on, it's something that I always ask about, and I'm trying to find out things. And I know it's fantastic that you've been to Parliament and use lobbies, but I'm also hit my political eye out there,
well, in a role as a councillor as well, and it's really important. I mean, I see it locally for me here in Norwich that our MPs are currently fighting big battles about making sure there's enough dentistry provision in Norfolk, but also our walk-in clinic is at threat of being shut down, and they're really fighting really hard again for us to keep that open. And actually, for me personally, that walk-in centre after my surgery was really, really vital, because my GP said the scar on my arm, the hospital for some reason could only see me like once every week, but the bandages needed changing a lot often, and they wanted me to go to my GP, but my GP didn't have a dressing nurse, so the only place I could go was the walk-in clinic, which in itself was mental and probably shouldn't have happened for infection rates and stuff like that, but there was nowhere else for me to go other the walk-in clinic, and also to get that late night support, because they're open and they've got like off-duty doctors and stuff like that, without walking into A&E, because let's be honest, A&E is the last place where you want to walk in as a cancer patient, because the A&E doctors are great at, they're amazing, but they're not your cancer doctors. And actually, you don't want to put yourself into an area where there is lots of bacteria and illness, and you don't have the strength to sit there for 4 or 5 hours either. So I feel like these walk-in centres are really, really important. And yeah, sorry, gone totally off topic.
Actually, a question to you. So, your hospital, their max-fax department, they don't have like a rooms clinic.
So they've got I've got the oral department where Max Fax is in, and then you've got your plastics department, and I was split between the two. So anything to do with wound is with the plastics, but the plastics department for some reason would only see me once a week, and then even less, and I think it was a capacity issue. But I have since talked to someone from the trust and said, oh yeah, then I used to, because I didn't have enough money for a taxi to go to the walk-in centre. So I had to walk when I actually wasn't really capable of walking those distances yet. And it was like, basically it was a whole day of like walking from one coffee shop to the other, and then get there, and then always have to wait a minimum of 3 to 4 hours to be seen. And then I remember the first time I walked in there, and the poor nurse like opened this, and they're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And I'm like, I don't know. But I've spoken to someone from the trust, and they said like that should have never happened. Actually, what should have happened is I should have had an ambulant nurse come to my home and do the dressing. But that's the thing, you're a young patient, you don't want to kick up a fuss. And I guess the only people I talked to were receptionists who were like, oh no, we don't do this service here, you need to go to the walk-in centre. Now this receptionist didn't know that I was like, in many pieces and in a really bad shape. But I wasn't a professional patient at that point. I was a newbie at being a patient. Nowadays I know how to be a patient, and how, I've got 2 new diagnoses for rare diseases, but I only got them because I knew how to get them diagnosed. Not that I wanted them, but I knew I had them. But I literally, with one of them, went into to see a doctor I've never met before and gave him a NHS training video on how to diagnose my disease.
Oh, wow.
And I spoke, and he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, look, you will not know what I have. I know what I have. You look at this video and then you tell me if you agree with me. And if you don't agree with me, great. And he actually went, oh, yeah, you really have this. And I'm like, yeah. And I spoke to my friend who's a doctor in Switzerland. And, oh, my God, the face she pulled, she's like, I would not want you as a patient. And I'm like, that's just how you have to self-advocate. And actually, it doesn't matter if you're in the UK or Switzerland, because, I know many patients now in Switzerland too. That piece of self-advocating is important no matter where you are in a geography, any geography. I'm going to come off my little stump because otherwise I'm going to go on a rally here. And I really wanted to ask you 2 more questions before we finish up. Firstly, the question is, so many of us, when we first get diagnosed, we realise that people in our relations, friends, have different reactions to our cancer diagnosis. And I was just wondering what your experiences has been, that now that you have a chronic diagnosis, if there's been a change or a shift, or if you feel that sometimes you can see people feel really awkward about it and don't know how to ask questions, or if everyone's just been like, yeah, all right, all right, Mus, you're all right, you'll have it. You get this and you'll be fine. Sort of
basically, everyone's like, but I had it and that's it. Not in a bad way. Everyone's just, as it's messages of, people ask me how I'm doing and all that, and I sent a round robin message that everyone said to me, let me know after you get your first scan results what's happened. So I sent everyone the good news, and everyone was super happy, and that's nice. And there's the message after that, asking how I am, oh, you guys hate, how long did you remember me? I'm like, right. They had good news, so I'm happy. And that's what they should look at, really. It's like, I had the conversation in the car with Pez, like, on the way back home, and it was like, no, they have to just take it, I think, stand by stand, basically, and assess the position. I think, in a roundabout way, that's what the doctor said to us. Like, they take it, and see what happens. Because, and he was bumped as well. That first result was amazing. Don't expect to see the same again. It's not that 50% at the end, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I had a bit of a medical miracle. It might do. You never know.
Yeah. No, totally. And I mean, because I know that we got people listening who have like loved ones going through recurrences and things like that, and sometimes feel a bit of a loss at how to react. And one of the things I tend to do when I'm communicating with patients, instead of just saying, hey, how are you? It's a huge question, like, how do you answer that? It's just go like, hey, how are you today?
Yeah.
Like, how are you right now? Because I don't feel I don't want people to feel they need to tell me their entire medical chart, because let's be honest, I'm not going to understand it anyhow. It's more like I'm checking in, like, how are you today, like, and it could be sometimes I think the funniest reply I got was once about ice cream, and then we ended up having a conversation about ice cream, which is great. And that's, I think, I still love.
I put an ice cream there.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous. Yeah. I honestly, I was so worried I'd go off ice cream because I ate so much of it, but I can't get enough of it.
I've been making, like, savers now, and I'm like, oh, this is like, and this is just in the winter. So then summer comes around. I thought it was the tubs. I thought it's the Nimsa run. I'm like, yep, let's do it.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, and then the last thing I wanted us to touch upon is, Marcel, you had a big birthday.
And then
And oh my God, did you know how to pull off a party? I've seen all the photos. I was like, wow.
no, firstly, the other credit for the party goes to my wife's hair, because basically we sat down last January and was just like, the every January we plan what we're going to do for the year, and so. But this time she said, because I'm in February, she was like, right, have a think about what you're going to do for your birthday, because her 30th was last year. She didn't want a party. She was just happy to. And the reason why she didn't want a party, she wanted about 8 different things to do with her mates and her family. So she had to put on her birthday.
She had lots of little parties.
Yeah, she had to put on her birthday for a whole month.
Yeah, I'm one of those as well. If I have a big birthday, it's like the entire March is taken over by Barbara, basically.
She was here, so, and that was great. They done stuff with my family, and they done stuff with our friends, and stuff with her family, and she had they did a nice time. So then it came to last year. I was in two minds. It was I either went to party or I went to go to Vegas. That was the two things in my head. And I was like, I've always wanted to do that. And I was like, 30th. And if I hadn't have had the hamster, that's what they would have done. So I would have been like, nah, I'm going to go away with maybe a few mates or family or whatever. But last year, they asked me last year, and at this point they're 9 months out of surgery. I said, no, I'm going to party. I was like, I think the party should be better. And I was just like, it'd be nice. Everyone who, sorry, everyone who's been so supportive, everyone, my family and friends that I love, I'd love to have them all in one place and have the time. So they message everyone in January, save the date, so they gave everyone 30 months notice. I said to her, right, they're having a party, over to you, you can sort it out. I don't know anything. It just surprised me when we get there. So she spent, and then from November to the party, she was like, I just want to tell you everything that I've booked, and how excited she was. So by that, I was like, I know this is going to be a great party. And so we ended up, we had it at the Bells Club, about 5 minutes up the road from us, and she ended up, it was a back tie event, and she was nice, like, she know, and it was just, it was that, with like, a DJ, beautiful food, a sweet study, and literally, 120 of my closest friends and family, and
wow,
had everyone had amazing times from the photos.
No, it's amazing. I saw it all online. I was just like, oh, Mars, this is so amazing. And then also, I just need to say an extra thank you, because you used the opportunity to fundraise for Young Tongues, which I'm so grateful for. We are very, very tiny, so any money that we get is really, really helpful to make sure that we've got a future going forward.
No, I was then I woke up the next morning and I seen the amounts that people donated. I was like, do them then. I'm sure some of them might have been in the morning, so I don't donate that much, but it's not that. You've got the money. You have the money now, Barbara. Run.
some late night donations.
That's
We
it.
love them.
That's it.
We love them. Just corrupt the people. Come on, have some drink and give a
That's
donation.
it. That's it.
Oh, Mus, it's been an absolute delight to have you on today. Thank you so much.
It's been,
And I know, seriously, thank you so much for coming on and giving us an update in, a time that for many people can be, or is really tough. And I always admire you, the way you go through life and you take things in your stride. And we'd love to have you back on for an update as and when you feel okay to do so.
definitely. I'm sure there'll be more stories in a few months' time, so we'll do that. And I just want to say thank you to obviously you, and you obviously kept in touch with me while everything's been going on, and just obviously send out my love to everyone on the Young Tongue group. I know, I've had in a post the other day, people, Talia, who said how much my post had helped her, and that was just like, I woke up to that, really melted my heart, because I'm like, the only reason why I share stuff is to help people. There's no other reason. So, I love the group, and I love everyone on there, so it's always great to share the story, and I'm looking forward to meeting up in person at some point. I know I haven't made the Christmas one because I've had treatment, so the next one.
And also, let's be honest, London at Christmas is a cesspit. So no, don't do that. So, but we are having lots of meetups in the diary, and a couple of them in London. So it's all very exciting. And if you're listening and you live somewhere else in the world, also in the US, Scotland is coming up. We've got one in Switzerland because, well, I'm there all the time anyhow. And if you live anywhere else and would like to host the meetup, then get in touch with me on info@youngtonguesglobal.com, because we're always looking for more local volunteers to host a meetup. And they're not going to be massive. It might be 2 of you, it might be 4 or 5 of you, but that in itself still stipulates a meetup. And I'm always 100% convinced the joy in the room of patient meeting each other is just immense. And it's meeting virtually is cool and it's brilliant, we have that, but meeting in person is like a whole different ball game. So we'd love to do more of that.
Yeah, I had such a that was when we had that meet up in London. I would say last year, but it's actually the year before. And actually meeting everyone there. I know some people from the group have had their parents like me from that. So then you have that connection in person. It makes it does make it special because you have that bond.
Absolutely. Mus, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Listeners, thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of the Young Tongues. I shall be back with you hopefully next week with a less hoarse voice and not quite as much coughing and bluffing and everything else that comes with it. But if you'd like to come onto the podcast and share your story with us, please contact us on please contact us on podcast@youngtonguesglobal.com, although the other one will be fine as well. I've got my eyes over all the different inboxes we have. And make sure to give us a 5-star review, leave your comments, and join us on the Young Tongues Facebook group if you're a patient. We'd love to welcome you and have you part of our community. Right, thank you so much. Have a fantastic week and see you soon. Bye.